Hi there, I am A.G. Arana. In my previous tutorials, I have been using Bootstrap to design websites using different CSS tools like viewport width and height, percentages, and pixels. Flexbox is another tool available in CSS for designing website layouts. Unlike the earlier display box designs, Flexbox has been integrated with CSS from 2011-12 to use display stretch option. The main distinction between Flexbox and other tools is it does not use floats. It takes into account a parent element and an item element in its designing. In this tutorial, I will use both Flexbox and Bootstrap to design a landing page of a website which you are now viewing on the screen. Internet Explorer 9 and earlier versions do not support the Flexbox, but with the web designing getting updated with passage of time and the available tools, Flexbox can be used in current browsers. Bootstrap supports containers with fixed width as well as fluid ones. While the same can be used for sites with Flexbox, if no width is defined to the container, it will default to 1200 pixels, that is 1170 pixels after considering the gutter width. If container fluid is used, it will stretch to the full width of the viewport or screen. While using Flexbox, you can define width, height, etc. to suit the design. Now let us now see how to integrate Flexbox and Bootstrap into building a nice landing page of the website as you are seeing on the screen. I will be using Sublime Text for this exercise. As you can see, I have the untitled page open in Sublime Text, and I have already brought in the code. You can see this code is available in getbootstrap.com. This is the official site of Bootstrap. And coming to getting started, you will find the Bootstrap CDN code. So the first two items I have pasted on the top part, that the header part of the site, and the lower one, that is the JavaScript. As you can see, it is pasted at the bottom. And in addition to this, I have also included the jQuery 1.11.3.min.js. Now, for starting the exercise, as you can see, I have opened a folder by the name Flex-Bootstrap. Now, inside this folder, I have placed another three folders. The first one is CSS for placing the CSS file. The second one is with images. Now, these are the images which we will be using in this exercise. These are the different images. They are all JPEG images of different sizes. We'll come to that later. And then in the JavaScript JS folder, we have the jQuery -1.11.3.min.js. So this file, I placed it here. This can be downloaded from jQuery.com. So having kept these folders ready, and then having brought the code in, I will not go much into details about this because this has already been covered in my previous tutorials. But the only thing is that the title I have changed it to Flex-Bootstrap site. This is the title I have given it to it. Now before we start designing the page, we need to include our own CSS. Like you can see, I have given a link here, css/style.css. So we need to have our own CSS file for designing the different elements of the page. So for that, let's come to File and say New. And this opens a blank file. Now this file we need to save. So before that, let's come to the main file where we have the code, and then save this file. I'll come to File and say Save As. Select the Flex-Bootstrap folder, and here let's name it as index, and .html will be taken by the system from here. So we'll say index and then say save. As you can see, Sublime Text has saved this file as index.html. Similarly, coming to the second untitled page, let's come to the file and say save as, and this one we'll have to save it as CSS. For that, let's double click on the CSS folder and name this as let's say style.css. Specifically, we'll have to name it style.css and say save. Now you can see the file is saved as style.css. Coming back to the index file again, let's start with the creation of the page. Now as you can see, the page that we need to create looks like this. So first we need to have the logo here and the title of the page with the background. So let's come to that. Coming to the body part. So first let's now insert a container. Let's say container, and inside this container let's add another div. Let's say, let's name it something like image box, and inside this div let's include that image for the logo. Now you can see the image for the logo is here. This is flower.jpg. This is the JPEG file of dimensions of 100 pixels by 100 pixels. So let's include this here. So coming to the insertion here, we'll say img src. So inside the images folder, we have flower.jpg. This is the image we have, and give it an all description. Let us say logo. Now you can see the image here is square. Now in our site, the image is round. So we need to round off the image. For rounding the image, let's add it a class. Let's say class img circle. Let's come and save this now. Now having defined this, let's come to the style sheet. Now coming to the style sheet, we need to give a command to the container. Now since we are using Flexbox, now whatever the items are inside this container, we want them to be using the Flexbox style. And Flexbox, as you know, doesn't use floats, so automatically floats the items. So let's first come and define the container, because the container is always the parent of the different children. You can see like we have the container here, and then inside that we have different div classes and contents. So the second div class image box is the child of the main div class container. So for the main parent, let's say display flex. Now this display flex command automatically makes the CSS work on the Flexbox system. So let's see how that will work. So having defined that first display flex onto the parent, now you need to come and give the color. As you can see, there is a color here to the container. Now instead of giving the color to the container itself, because then it will affect all the containers, what we can do is for this particular container, let's define a class. Let's call it something like logo. And then come to the style sheet here and define that class logo. And this class logo, let's define the background. Now the background we wanted to give it as red. Let's say F53 C4F. Okay, let's come and save this now. And let's view it in the browser. As you can see, this is how the image will look. Like this is the container with the fixed width, and then this is the logo image which is fitting into the container. So if you want the height of the container to increase, then you have to give it define it a height. Or if you want the height of the container to be reduced, then you have to reduce the height of the image or width of the image. Now in addition to the logo, as you can see, we also have the heading for the site, Flex-Bootstrap site. So we need to include this now. So for including it, let's come to the HTML. And in the HTML, we include another class inside the container. Let's include another div with a class, let's say header. Inside that class header, now let's define the h1. Now, inside the h1, we will say Flex-Bootstrap site. Now this h1, we always want it to align it to the center. So let's give the command here itself, align center, and then come and save it. If you refresh the browser now, as you can see, the text is coming very close to the logo. You would observe that the heading is come very close to the logo despite our giving the h1 align center. That is because the container is the parent and the header is the child. So since the container we have said display flex, the header also it will treat as display flex, and the H1, that is the heading, will move next to the image. So then we need to realign it by giving paddings and margins. So let's go on to see how to do that. So let's come to the CSS and do some work around for this. Coming to the CSS, let's define the class header. Inside the class header, so first we want the color of the text to be white because it's black. Then after that, let's give a margin to the left, moving that text to the right. Let's say about 30 pixels. Let's save it and see. Come and refresh now. As you can see, the text has moved away for 30 pixels, but the text looks slightly to the top side. So let's bring it down a little. So let's give it a margin to the top. Say about 10 pixels. Save it again, and if I refresh now, you can see the text has come right to the center. So this is how the original will be looking, and this is how the page is now looking. So this completes the top part. Now the question here is, this is for the full width screen, like a bigger screen. Now what about the smaller viewports? Like we have the mobile phones and we have the tablets. Now how do we tackle that issue? Define a media query. I will deal particularly with 3 media queries. First is for the mobile or smartphones with a width 360 pixels, and then for the tablets with a width of 768 pixels, and then for the desktop with a width of 1280 pixels. So basically I'll cover these 3. Similarly, it can be defined for the different viewport levels as required. So here defining a media query, we say add media, and this I am going to give it say between min width, like I will be defining 768, so it will be 769 pixels, between 769 pixels, and max width say 1280 pixels. So this is for the desktop. Put a curly bracket and close the curly bracket after this. Okay, so this is the media query for minimum width 769 pixels to 1280 pixels. Now before this, we need to build another 2 media queries. The first one is for add media with a max width of let's say 360 pixels. This is for the smartphones or the mobile phones. Your curly brackets. The second one we'll build it for tablets. Let's say add media. We will say the min width here would be 361 pixels because we have already defined the 360 pixels above, and then let's define a max width of 768 pixels, and then give a curly bracket. So this is for the tablet with a maximum width of 768. Now these are the 3 media queries we will be using. So having defined the media query for the 1280 pixels max size, now let's come and see how this will operate in the smaller viewports. Like if I come here and then since I'm using Firefox as the browser, so if I use Control Shift and M, this shows us the viewports of different lengths or different widths. Like here we have 360 by 640. So you can see this is how the height will look, and 360. So for that we need to come and do some changes. So first let's use that all the 3 classes, come and paste it in 360 pixels, and then save it and see what changes we need to make. So if I refresh it here, now the image size as well as the text, both these we need to rework it out. So for that let's first target the image. For the logo image, it's as you can see, the image is inside the image box, class image box. So let's target that class image dash box and img, that is the image. And first let's reduce the width of the image so that it will become smaller in size. Like let's make it image 50 pixels and give a slight margin to the top, so the image doesn't go right to the top. Let's say margin to the top, say 5 pixels. Let's save it And if you refresh now, you can see the image has become smaller and has gone to the top. Now coming to the text. Now this text is H1. Come to the style.css, and here we target the H1 in 360 pixels, and here we reduce the font size. Let's say font size, let's make it about 20 pixels. Save it, and then now refresh. You can see this is how the site will be looking. Now you can see the text is lying a little lower, so we need to push it up a little and bring it to the center of the page. To do that, let's target the H1. Like the heading is in the H1, and here we say margin to the top, let's say 10 pixels, and then save it. And if you refresh now, you can see now the heading has come to the center. Now the image here, as you can see, is almost touching the bottom of the container. So we have an option of either pushing it slightly above or increasing the height of the container. So what we'll do is give this image a padding, like the logo. Let's give it a padding of say 5 pixel top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Save it now, and if you refresh, you find the image slightly moving above, but then it is touching the left corner. So let's give it pixels all around. Come and save it now, and if you refresh again, you will see that the image is perfectly in the center and the text is also at the center. So this is the position so far as 360 pixels is concerned. Now coming to 768 pixels, you can see nothing is visible here. That is because we have not given the codes. So let's copy these codes from say, paste it in this 768. Save it, and if you refresh now at 768 and then see, okay, this is how the image will be fitted in, and this is how the text will be looking. So if you need, you can reduce the size of the image slightly by reducing the width, but I will keep it as it is right now. So this is how the top bar will look in 768, and this is how it will look in 1280 pixels or 1200 pixels, whichever the width that we specify. So this is how the top bar will be there. After the top bar, now we need to move on to the next item, that is inserting the image. As you can see, this is the hero image that we need to insert. For inserting the hero image, let's come to the index.html, and after the close of the earlier container, let's insert another container, and inside that container, now let's add a row. So inside this row, now we need to insert the image. Now the image that we have here, if you see in the images folder, we have the image hero. This is a JPEG file of 1920 by 574 pixels. So we will be inserting this image. So then here we will say imgsrc. Here inside the images folder, we have hero.jpg, that is the hero image we have, and then given in all description, we will say this is the photo of a street. Now this hero image, let's give it a class so that it fits in properly inside the different viewports. Let's call it img responsive, also center block, so that the image will always remain in the center. Come and close the quote here. Come and save this now, and if you refresh the browser, as you can see, the image is perfectly fitting into the width of the column. This is how the image will look in full width desktop. Now coming to the other viewports, like if you come to first to 360, now this is how the image will resize 260 because we are given the class as img responsive. And coming to 768, this is how the image will reposition itself in 768, and this is how it will position itself in 1200 pixels or 1280 pixels. Next we go on to build this navigation bar, like the drop downs and other items, and the hover and other features. Let's see how to do that. Now coming to the HTML, I have picked up the navigation code from the Bootstrap components of Dreamweaver. So I'm going to paste this code here, the entire code as it will be available in Dreamweaver. Now incidentally, this code also is available in getbootstrap.com. If you come to getbootstrap.com, you come to the components, and in the components you have the navbar, and if you come down here, you will find the code for the navigation bar. I picked it up from Dreamweaver, and then coming back to the code here, let's do some customization. Now first of all, if I save this code and then come and refresh my browser, what I see is that the navigation bar stretches from end to end of the screen, and also it is black in color. So I need to first fit this navigation bar and change its color and change the navigation items. Now to do that, changing the color, the nav class navbar inverse, first let me change this to navbar default. So this will give a default color. Like if I save it now and then refresh, you see the black color is changed to default color. And then next what I need to do is fit that navigation bar inside the container. So here what you find is the container fluid. So let's only retain the container instead of container fluid. And now you will find the navigation bar fitting into the container above. As you can see, it is fitting in container above. Next we go on customizing the heads of different menu heads that we need. So first of all, let's come to the brand item here. So we don't need this heading brand, so just remove this. And the first link that we have, active link, so this will rename it as home. So after the home, this first link what we have, let's remove this. Immediately after the home, you find we have the products, which are drop down. So here we need to retain the drop down and change this drop down heading to, let's say, products, and then go on changing the items here. The items that we have is first we'll have existing, like existing products, and then after that we have let's say new products, and then we can also say proposed products. So these are all tentative names. Let us say proposed products, and then we have a separator link. Now this separator link, let's name it as dealers, and among the dealers, the first one we will say local dealers, and then copy this li and add one more, copy it and then paste it again, and this local, let's change it to outstation dealers. Okay, so this completes the drop down. Like the li for the drop down ends here, this li ends here. So after this closure of this li, let's come down where the li closes. This UL closure will be for the UL navbar nav, whatever this UL we have. So the entire thing, let's remove this now, and if you save this and then come and refresh the browser, you will find we have only two items, one home and other with the drop down. The next item for us to do is give it a background color to this navigation bar. For giving the background color to the navigation bar, coming to the source code here, one option for us is to give it to the container itself. Like I've said earlier, giving it to the container will affect the containers in other places. So what we need to do is give a class to the container here. Let's call it something like nav. Then come to thing here and then define that class nav. And here we'll give it a background color. Let's define it a background color. The color we'll have to give is F53C4F. It's red color. Come and save it now, and if you refresh the browser, you will find the navigation bar has a color. Navigation bar is now perfectly fitting in with the two of the menu items. Now let's add the remaining menu items. Like the other item that we have is special features, discount offers, packaging, testimonials, about us, and contact us. Let's go on adding that. So coming to the index.html after the closure of li. Let's add one more li. Now, in this li, we will say special features and add the anchor reference code. Copy this anchor reference code from here and then come and close it. Now copy this li another 5 times. Copy this and then come and paste it. Second, third, fourth and fifth. Okay, now go on changing the heading for special features. Let us say discount offers. And after discount offers we have packaging. Let us say packaging, and after packaging we have testimonials. Let us say testimonials, and after testimonials we have about us. Let us say about us, and then post it one more time and change this to contact us. Okay, so this completes the navigation items. Let's come and save this, and then if you refresh now, you will find all the navigation items are visible here. So we need to do a little more customization for this. Now to do that, now we need to come to the CSS. Coming to the CSS now, first of all what we need to do is spread these items, navigation items, we give some gap between them. To do that, we need to take this class, collapse nav or collapse. Let's copy this, come to the style sheet here, put a dot and paste that code, and then target the UL and LI. Now in the UL and LI, here let's give it a dot and a backspace. Let's not give any gap here. And inside this, now let's define the background. Let us give the same background as the above one, the red one here. Okay, Control C and come and paste it here. And then give it a padding to the left. Let us say padding left of say 25 pixels. Now if I save this and refresh, you find the items have moved about 25 pixels each. So next let's need to give it a color. Let's give this anchor items a color. So for that, let's call it this code collapse nav or collapse ULI. Copy this and paste it here and target the anchor item. And here we define it a color of say white. Come and save this now. And now if you refresh, you will find the navigation items are clearly visible. Now coming to the drop down also, the navigation items are visible, but only some customization drop down we will be doing later. So now having given this effect, next effect that we need to give is a hover. Let's give it a hover effect. So let's copy this code ULLIA and then come and paste it here and then give it a hover effect. Say hover inside the curly bracket. Now let's give it a color of the text color. We want it to be black, and the background color we want it to be white. This is the background color. Okay, come and save this now, and if you refresh, now you will find the color. When you move over, you will find the color turning to white. Now the home item you find which always carries a default color. So if you want to remove that, then remove this li class active, what is there for the home item. If you remove this and then save it, and if you refresh the browser now, you will find that default item is gone, and when you hover over the menu items, it is turning into white. Now moving on to the drop down items. Now for the drop down items we need to do some changes here. Now the first align this like you can see when you hover, there's some gap here, so we need to align that. For aligning that, coming to the style.css, let's use the drop down UL, LI and anchor item, and inside the curly bracket let us define it a margin to the left. Let us say 10 pixels, and also give it a margin to the right. Let us say 30 pixels. Save it, and if you come and refresh now, and if you see the drop downs, you can see that it is centered. You will find that the hover effect is slightly moved away to the right. So to bring it to the left, so let's first make the margin left to be 0 and the margin right. Let's make it into 40 pixels, and then if we save it and refresh again and see how the hover effect will work. Now you find it is almost coming in line with the top part. So this is how the hover effect will work on the drop down items. Now next item for us is to work out the focus effect on these menu items. For building the focus effect, we need to use the nav bar. Like we have the nav bar nav. This is a class. Let's copy this class, then come to the style sheet here, put a dot, paste that code, and then the li and anchor item, let's target them and say focus. Give a curly bracket, and here we give a dot and a backspace so that there is no gap in between. And now we define the color of the text. When it is in focus mode, we want it to be say red. So I will copy this color. Let's say 53C4F, and paste it here. And the background on focus, we want it to be white. Come and save this now. And if you refresh, and when you click on these items, you'll see the color has gone to red. So this is the focus effect. Now this being the focus effect will now done. Next, let us see how this navigation bar appears in the smaller viewports. So coming to the smaller viewport, let's take the 360 pixels. Like you can see the navigation bar, the icon is coming on to the left. There are two ways of dealing with this issue. One is the Flexbox way, and second is the Bootstrap way. So let's first see how it works on the Flexbox way, and then examine the Bootstrap option. So first of all, we need to copy that code from nav onwards. Let's copy this code. Come to 360 pixels on top, and then paste it here and see what changes we need to make. Like if you come and save this now and refresh the browser, you will find the navigation bar has got the color, but the toggle is still aligning to far left. So first let's move the toggle a little to the right. To do that, for the nav bar toggle, we have the nav bar toggle. Nav bar toggle collapsed. So let's copy this code and come to the style sheet here, and after that nav, let's put a dot and paste that code. Give a curly bracket and put a dot here and a backspace. Now inside this, let's give a margin to the left. Let us say 20 pixels, and this padding to the left to collapse nav bar URL. Let's remove this and save it now. And if you refresh, you find the toggle has moved to the right. Now from here, if you click, you find that the navigation items are coming over the toggle. So to take care of that, we need to move the navigation items, the collapse nav or collapse ULLI. We need to now move them to the right. So for that, let's give a margin to the left, say 40 pixels. Save it, and now if you refresh, if you click on this, you will find the navigation item moving to the right. So these are the navigation items, menu items, and this is how the hover and the effect of focus, all those effects are now built in. Now when you click on the toggle, you will find that the toggle moves towards the left. So to balance the toggle inside, so we need to target the nav bar header, this class nav bar header. Let's come and target that class. navbar header. Inside this header, let's give a padding to the left, let's say 20 pixels, and save it now. And if you refresh the browser, you will find that the toggle is still visible now. It is not moving to the left. So this is how the toggle will work in 360 pixels. The second option is devising this 360 pixels in the Bootstrap way. For the Bootstrap way, in 360 pixels, we have defined the container to be display flex. Now that is because we wanted this logo and the image to float next to each other. So we said container display. Now even for the navigation, since we have a container inside, so here also it will be using as Flexbox way. So to make it the Bootstrap way, what we need to do is coming to the style sheet. If you remove that container display flex and then save it, refresh the browser now, you will find the toggle has moved to the right. This is the way the Bootstrap toggle works. This is how it has moved to the right. But then you find the O and the heading is little distorted. That's because we have removed the flex. So to rectify that, the image box, whatever image we have, this class image box, suppose you float it. If you say float left, then that image will move next to the logo. If you save here, refresh here, and you find the heading has moved alongside the logo. And we need to bring down the heading slightly. So for that, the H1, we have margin top, say 10 pixels. Let's make it 20, and then save it, and then you refresh again. Now you will find the heading has come right to the center. So this has taken care of the top bar and also the navigation bar in the 360 pixels. Now this menu items, as you see that they are moving towards the right. So that's because we have given margin left, navbar color margin left 20 pixels, and ULLI margin left 40 pixels. Suppose we remove both of these. This is what we had given to balance the Flexbox way. Now if you save, refresh, you find the menu items have moved left. So we give a little more padding to these menu items. We give a padding to the ULLI, like we have the ULLI here. Let's give a padding left of 10 pixels. Save this and then refresh now, and refresh the toggle. You will find the menu item moving 10 pixels to the right. So this is how the menu items will be looking in the 360 pixels. Now coming to 768 pixels, we need to realign the menu items and also give it a background color. So for that, let's copy the code from 1280. Copy this code and then come and paste it in 768. Save it now and then refresh and see. Okay, the color of the navigation bar has changed. The drop down is working. Only thing is the menu items are spread out. That's because of the padding left 25 pixels. Let's remove this padding left 25 pixels given to the ULLI. That's one thing. And the second thing is we need to also reduce the font size in the ULLI A. Collapse navbar, collapse ULLI A. Now here we need to define the font size. If I say 12 pixels, because the number of menu items are more. If I save this now and refresh the browser, you find the menu items are still moving down. For that, we'll also give a padding left. Let's say padding left 10 pixels. Save it and refresh again. Now you see that all the menu items are perfectly aligned along with the drop down. Everything is working well. This is how the menus are defined in 768, and this is how the menu bar will be defined in desktop, full width desktop, or 1200 or 1280 pixels. Next we move on to defining these two columns, trends and our specialty. For that, let's come to the HTML here, and after the closure of nav, Let's add a container, div class container, and inside the container let's add another div. This will we will call it content left. Now we are going to use the Flexbox here because we are using the container, so display flex will automatically be used. And then div class content left. Inside this div class content left, let's first use the heading h3, and inside that content h3 we will say trends. This will be the first heading, and then we'll give some text. So text we'll put it under paragraph, and let's use lorem text, lorem, and add a little more text. Okay, now that we have this column, left column ready, now let's copy this entire div content left, paste it here and change it to content right, and the heading, let us change it from trends to say our specialty. Okay, now the heading h3, this we would want always to align it to the center, so let's give it a class say align center, and copy that code align center and then paste it onto the second h3. Okay, now let's come and save this, and if you come and refresh the browser, you can see we have two columns straight away. But these columns, if you want to further give them a little design, then first of all the container what we have here, let's give it a class, let's call it middle, and then come to the style sheet, come to 1280 pixels here, and then define the first class of middle, and inside the class middle we will say display flex. So this is the Flexbox way, and then the background we want it to be white, and we will also give a margin to the bottom so that the contents below that will go push down, say 40 pixels. Next we have is the content left and content right. So let's next target the content left class. Under content left, here we will use the term flex grow 1. What this means is the Flexbox will ensure that the contents of this column stretch to the entire width of the column that is defined. That's why it is called flex grow 1. And give it some padding. Give it a padding, let's say 10 pixels to the top and bottom and 20 pixels to the left and right. Similarly, let's also target content right, and inside this we'll use the same code and the padding because they are identical columns. Now if I save this and come and refresh the browser, then you can see the columns have got some padding and the content is now aligned. So if you want to align this text, then you can give the align, text align here itself. You can say p align, paragraph align, let's say justify. We want the content to be justified. Copy this, come and paste it here, and then save it. And if you refresh, you will find the text is being justified. So these are the first two columns. Now let's see how these columns will figure out in the smaller viewports. Like coming to the smaller viewports, you find this is the first column and this is the second column. Not much will need to be done, excepting that the padding at the bottom. Like if you have the content right, if you come to the style sheet here, the content right, you come to the 360, and here if I say content right, we want some margin at the bottom. Let's say bottom, say 20 pixels. Save it, and if you refresh again, now you will find there's a 20 pixel margin at the bottom. If it is found to be less, let's make it 30 pixels. Save it again and then refresh. So we'll have 30 pixels padding. So this is in 360 pixels. Now coming to 768, this is how the two columns will work out, because that is because the flex command we have not given. So for that, let's come to the middle, content left and content right. Let's copy this code and come to the 768, paste it here, Save it, and if you refresh the browser now, you will find the two columns are perfectly in place. So this is how the first two columns will be defined in the different viewports. Next we move on to the three column layout. Like we have image and the heading and the text. So let's see how we can design this. So coming to the HTML here, after the closure of the earlier container, let's come and insert another container, and inside the container let's add another div class of, let's call this lower box 1, and inside this column row box 1 we need to first insert the image. For coming to the images here, so the first image we have is the www. It's a JPEG file of 80 pixels by 80 pixels. So let's come and insert this image here. So let's say imgsrc. Here it is inside the images folder. We have the www.jpg, and give it an all description. Let's say globe, and give it a class of center block, so that the image will remain at the center. We'll close it. Now let's come and save this, and if you refresh the browser, you can see that the image is aligning towards the left. For that, let's see how we can bring it up to the center. So having inserted the image, the next item we need is the heading. So let's use an H3, and inside that H3, let's give the heading, say our goal. Yeah. And after the heading, let's insert the text. For the text, let's use paragraph, and inside the paragraph, let's use lorem text. So let's come to the CSS now and describe this class of lower box 1, and inside the curly bracket, let's define it a width first. They say about 30%, because we need three columns in this layout. And let's say the text we wanted to align to the center, and let's give it a margin to the left 20 pixels. Let's save this now, and if you refresh the browser, now you can see the image has come to the center because of that center block, and the text, the heading and the text has also moved to the center. Now the text part, if you want to align it, then coming to the index.html here, let's say we want the text to be aligned with justify. Save it again, and if you refresh the browser now, you find the text is justified. So this is the first column. So similarly now let's copy this lower box 1 and then paste it again and change it to lower box 2, and the image in lower box 2 we'll use the image star. So instead of www, let's use the image star, and the alt description, let's say star, this is star, and the H3 from our goal we make it our achievements. Okay, save this now and come again and paste that code again, and make this to box 3, and in lower box 3 let's use the image as a clock, and the alt description also let's change it to clock, and then the description from our goal, let's make it our inventions. Save all, and now if you refresh, you can see it's happening like this because we have not described the CSS. So let's copy this class lower box 1 and come and paste it here and make it box 2, and then paste it here again and then say box 3. Save it now and refresh the browser, Now you see we have 3 columns laid out. As we can see, there is a small gap at the extreme right of these columns. So what we can do is these 2 columns, the second and third one, we have given the margin left say 20 pixels. Let's make it 30 pixels and then save it. So refresh now. You will find the columns are now in alignment. And we need to give a little space at the bottom. For that, let's target that box 3. And for the box 3, let's define margin to the bottom. Let us say 60 pixels. Save it and if we refresh now again, you will find there is 60 pixels gap at the bottom. So this is the position so far as the 1280 pixels is concerned. So let's see how these 3 columns will design in the smaller viewports. Like coming to 360, you can see that the images are centered, but the headings are still not centered. So let's bring the heading to the center, like the H3 we have. So let's say align center and copy that code. Paste it to the second H3 and paste it to the third H3. Come and save it. And now if you refresh, now you will find the headings have also come to the center. Now to identify the upper columns and the lower columns, 3 columns and 2 columns, we can bring a border to the bottom here. So for that, let's target the second column. Second column that we have is the content right, our specialty. So we need to put a line below this column, our specialty. So let's target this class content right. So coming to 360 pixels, the top here, for the content right, let's give a border at the bottom. Let's say 1 pixel solid and make it CCC. If you save this now and refresh the browser, you find a border at the bottom, but then it is very close to the text. So to bring that border to the bottom slightly lower, let's give it a padding to the bottom. Let's say 20 pixels. Save it and refresh again. You will find the line has gone slightly below 20 pixels. So this identifies the first 2 columns and then the next 3 columns. Now after the third column, our dimensions, we need some margin at the bottom. So let's come and pick up that class lower box 3. Coming to the 360 pixel, let's say lower box 3. And here we'll define a margin to the bottom. Let us say 30 pixels. Save this and refresh the browser. So we have the 30 pixel margin to the bottom. So if we want a little more margin, then make it to say 50 pixels. Refresh again and we have 50 pixel padding at the bottom. So this is how the 3 columns will be laid out in 360 pixels. Now coming to 768, now this is how the 3 columns are laid out, but then the columns are too close to each other and the alignment also needs to be corrected. So for that, first of all, let's copy this code. Lower box 1, 2 and 3 and come and paste it in the 768 pixels. Save it and refresh. As you can see, now the columns are properly laid out. Only our achievements, since this heading moves into 2 lines, alignment of this column is not in alignment with the other 2. So to align it again, so this heading, our achievements, let's change the font size for that. Now for the changing the font size, and heading we have is lower box 2 and our achievement is H3. So let's target the lower box 2, lower box 2 H3, and this one we will say the font size to say 20 pixels. Save it, and if you refresh the browser now, you find that all the three columns are properly in alignment. So this is how the three column layout will work out in 768 pixels, and this is how the three column layout will work out in 1280 pixels. So this completes the three column layout. Next we move on to designing the image gallery. Like we have 4 images here. Let's see how this can be done. So let's come to the HTML here, and first design the gallery heading. For that, first insert a div class of container, and inside that container, let's give it a heading. Let's say S3, and inside that S3, let's give the heading, let's say gallery. Now for designing this gallery, let's give a class to the container here of let's say gallery heading, and coming to the style sheet, let's define that class gallery heading, and inside the curly bracket, let's define it a width of say 85%, and then give it a background of lighter color EEE, and give it a margin left of say 85 pixels, and also a margin right to balance the column. Margin right, let us say 15 pixels, and then we'll also give a margin to the bottom. Say 20 pixels, and text we want it to be aligning to the left. Let's come and save this now, and if you refresh the browser, as you can see we have the heading here. Now the heading we find it requires the width to be slightly more. I've given it at 85%. Let's take it to say 90% and see how this works out. Yeah, it's the margin to the left. Let's make it say 65 pixels. Save it and then refresh now. To further align this column, let's make the margin left, let's say 70 pixels, and the width, let's bring it down to say 87%, and the margin right, let's make it say 40 pixels. Let's save this now, and if you refresh the browser, now you can see that the gallery header is coming to alignment. Now that the heading is ready, let's go on to inserting the images. So for the images, let's use the container. Inside the container, now I'm using the columns, like div class call MD3 and call SM6. Inside the div class call MD3 and SM3. Now let's insert the images. Now the images that we have here, as you can see, photo 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now these are all JPEG images with the dimensions of 350 by 257 pixels. So let's come and insert them. So the first image we have is, let's say, imgsrc. Let's say inside the images folder we have the photo 2.jpg, and giving an old description, let's say sunset at Kerala, and also give it a class. We want these images to align according to different viewports. Let's give them a class img responsive, and also set a block. Close it. Come and save this now. Now this container, we need to give it a class of say gallery, and coming to the CSS, let's now define that class gallery, and here we would define the width of the container to be 88.5%, and the margin to the left, this has to align with the gallery heading, let's say 70 pixels, and padding to the left, let us say 0. There is no padding to the left, 0 pixels. And margin to the bottom, we will say 60 pixels. Let's come and save this now. And if you refresh the browser, you can see this is the first image that can be seen. Now we need to insert 3 more. So let's use that class column D3 and SM6. This div, let's copy this and paste it this second time, and this one will make photo 3, and you'll also need to give a description these images. For that let's use another div. We will say media heading, and we want the items to be small, so we'll say media heading small, and inside this let us give the description inside a paragraph. Inside this we will say sunset at Kerala. Come and save this, and this media heading small, this div, copy it again and come and paste it after the second image. Similarly, let's come and paste the column, entire column of column D3 and SM6. Copy this and paste it for the third time here, and the photo image will make it say photo 4. Other things will remain the same. Come and paste it again and make it photo 5. Like we have 4 images pasted now. Let's come and save this now and refresh the browser. You can see we have 4 images lined up. Now we'll have to do some adjustments to make these 4 images align perfectly. So for that, coming to the CSS here, we have given the width of the gallery to be 88.5%. Let's increase it by 2 more percent, make it 90.5. And having increased the width, let's reduce the margin to the left. Let's make it say 55 pixels, and padding will make it 0, and then come and save this now. And if you refresh the browser, now you can see that the images are perfectly in alignment. Now the description at the bottom, sunset at Kerala, let's align this to the center. Let's say align the center, and if you copy that, the paragraph item, just copy this and then paste it to the other paragraph items, so that the description will be centered. So come and save this and refresh again. Now we have the description also at the center. So this is how the 4 images will align in a gallery in 1280 pixels. And then let's see how this will now figure out in the smaller viewports. First let's come to 360, and here if you see, the images are in alignment, one below the other. Only the heading, the gallery, that heading part, let's move it to the center. In 360, the gallery heading, what we have, we come to 360 at the top here, and the class gallery heading, we will say text align to the center. We'll save this and then refresh. So you can see the heading has come to the center. Now we can give some padding below this heading to give some gap in that. So we can say padding bottom, let's say 20 pixels. save all and refresh now. You can see that the 20 pixel padding has come about. So this is how the 4 images will align in 360 pixels. Now coming to 768, all the 4 images have come in the same line. So this is despite the fact that we have given call SM6. Now in the Bootstrap, when you give call SM6, there should be only 2 images in one row or one line. Now here we find all the 4 images are coming into the same line, and that is mainly because of the Flexbox option. Like in 361 and 768, for the container we have defined it as a display flex. Now when the container says display flex, that it will float all the children item in a row. That is why, despite the fact that we have given the 2 images for row in SM6, Flexbox has moved all the images, fitted them in a single row. So this is the basic difference. Now if you want to have only 2 images, then we need to remove that container flex. But then if you remove it from here, then you will find that the top bar and other columns which are aligned may be misaligned. The second aspect why the images are not coming into 2 columns is we have not defined a row. For the images, what we have done is from the container we have straight away moved on to the columns. Now suppose you insert a div class of say row, come and close that row before the container, save it, and then if you now refresh, you can see that the images have gone into 2 columns. So this is another reason why it is not showing into 2 columns. So we have an option of either, if you want all the 4 images in a single row, then we don't put it inside a row. And if you want 2 images in a row, and then we can always define a row inside the container before we place the columns. In which case you don't have to remove that container display flex command from 768 pixels. For our exercise, we will remove this div class row and save it, and if you refresh, you find all the 4 images remaining in the same line. So we would like to keep all the 4 images in a single line in this exercise. Heading gallery, we need to move it a little further up. So let's use that gallery heading class, say gallery heading, and here we will say margin to the left, say 20 pixels. If you save this now and refresh, you find the heading has come to still maybe another 10 pixels more, make it 30 pixels, save it again and refresh. You find the heading has gone slightly inside, so let's make it say 25 pixels. Save it again and refresh now. You have the heading in place. So we can give a little more padding to the bottom. Let's say padding to the bottom to say 20 pixels. Save it again and then refresh. Okay, so we have the gallery in place in 768 pixels, and give some space at the bottom, like the last gallery item, like we have the container gallery, class gallery. So in 768 use that class gallery and give a margin to the bottom, let's say 40 pixels, save it and refresh. So we have 40 pixels margin at bottom. So this is how the images will align in 768, and this is how they will align in 1280 pixels. The last item for us to consider is the footer. Like we have a 4-column footer with copyright text at the bottom. Let's see how to define this footer. So coming to the HTML here, let's come and define a div class container. Now, inside the container, now let's define a div class of row. Now here we are going to define a row. I'll come to that later why we are defining a row. And inside the row, now we are going to define the columns. Like I will say col MD3 because we have 4 columns, so we will call MD3, and we will also say call SM3 to keep it in line. And then inside that call MD3, now let's define our heading, that H4. And inside the H4, we will say about our projects, and then after that, let's put in a text. The text we'll use lorem. Okay, now that we have this one column ready, now we need to give a class for the purpose of giving a color. Like the footer has a color. For defining the color and other aspect, let's give a class. Now the class will define it to the row here. We'll call it something like footer, and come to the style sheet, and in 1280, let's go on defining that class footer. Inside that class footer, let's first define a background of say red, say C92F4F. This will be the red color, and then we'll also give it a padding of say 20 pixels all around. Come and save this. If you come and refresh the browser, you will see we have the background for the footer as well as the heading and the text. Now we need a little more customization to that, like the heading is under footer H4. So let's first end that class footer H4, and we want the text color to be white. So let's define it say white FFF. Similarly, we also want the footer text color to be the footer into the paragraph. We want the white color of the text to be white. So let's again say FFF. Come and save it now. And if you refresh the browser, now you'll find the text has turned into white. So let's align this text to the center. So for aligning to the center, let's come and give the class to the column itself. Let's say text center. Save it and refresh again. So you will find the entire text comes to the center. Now let's copy this entire div class call MD3. Copy it and then come and paste it for the second time and change the heading from about our projects to say terms and conditions. Then other content will remain the same, and then come and paste it for the third time. And this one let's change it to say privacy policy, and for the fourth time let's paste it and correct the heading to say get in touch. Get in touch. Okay, let's come and save this now, and if you refresh the browser, you will find the 4 columns in place. Now to demarcate these columns individually, we need to give them border on the right side, like we have given the border here. Let's give this border, and for giving the border, let's come to the HTML here and then define a class. Let's define a class, say line, and then copy this and paste it to all the 4 columns. Paste it, and then come to the style sheet and come to 1280 at the bottom here, and then define that class line. Inside that class line, let's first say a border to the right. We want a border to the right, say 1 pixel solid. Let's say we want it to be a red color, so let's say F2, 4, 5, 6 and 7. This is the red color. Come and save this now, and if you refresh, So you will find the red color border for all the 4 columns. But the 4th column, the last column, right side, we won't be needing the border. So to remove that border from the last column, let us come to the style sheet and define the last child for the line, the class line, the last child. And here we'll say border to the right, none. Let's come and save this now, and if you refresh the browser, so you will find the line to the last right of the last column is gone. So this is the 4 columns as it looks in 1280 pixels. Now if you come to smaller viewports, you come to 360. Here we need to define the background and other aspects. So for that, let's copy that code from footer. Complete code. Let's copy this and come to the 360 and paste it here. Save it, and if you refresh, so you'll find the 4 columns lined up one below the other. Okay, that's one thing. And then coming to the 768 pixels, if you come and see the 768 pixels, in the same position here, we need to copy that code. The code we have here, the footer onwards. Let's copy this code again, and then come to the 768 and paste it here. Save it and refresh. Now you'll see this is how the 4 columns will look. But the slight realignment in columns will be required because in the headings you find the text is moving down, the second line. So let's realign that heading. So we realign the heading in 768 pixels. Let's be in 768 pixels. We need to target the footer H4. The footer H4, let's define it a font size. Let's say about 14 pixels. And if I save it now and refresh, okay, you find all the four headings coming in a single line. So for demarcate them as headings, let's also give them a font weight. Let's give it a font weight. Let's say bold. And also give a little padding to the bottom, so that it gets segregated from the other items. So to your 10 pixels padding, let it come and save it, and then if you refresh, you can see now the heading is a little segregated from the text. So this is how the text will appear, and this is how the heading will appear in 768 pixels, and this is how it will appear in 1280 pixels. Next item that we need to is defining a line at the bottom here, and then the copyright text. For defining the line at the bottom, we have already defined the class line to these 4 columns. So coming to the class line at 1280, first let's come to 1280, and we'll also define a border to the bottom. Let's say border bottom, say 1 pixel solid. Here we'll make it black, 2 to 2. Save it, and if you refresh now, you have a line at the bottom. Now this line bottom, let's also see it in the other 2 viewports, like coming to 360. You can see the line bottom is not appearing here, so we need to copy that code for 360. Here we say border bottom, 1 pixel solid, say 2 to 2. And the same, let's copy this and also paste it at 768 to the line. Save it now, and if you refresh, you'll find the bottom appearing here. But in 360, you find the bottom right also appears. So we can remove that border right. 360. If you remove this border right, the line, and then come and save it, if you refresh now, so you find the border to the right is gone. This is how it will look in 360, and then this is how it will look in 768. Next item for us is to place the copyright text at the bottom. So placing the copyright text, let's come to the HTML here, and inside that row, let's insert a div and name it copyright. Now insert this div let's define that copyright content inside the paragraph, and here we'll say and copy semicolon. This is the code for copyright symbol, and then say copyright. You can define the year in which the copyright is registered, and then say all rights reserved. Now this content will always want to be aligned to the center of the page. So let's align it to the center. Come and save this now, and if you refresh, see this is how it will look in 768. If you come to 1280, this is how it will look in 1280. Now the copyright, we want the color of the text to be black. So for that, let's come to the CSS and target that class copyright. Inside the copyright P, let us define the color, say black, save it, and if you refresh the browser now, you will find the color of the text in copyright has gone to black. So we need to give a little gap between the line and the text. So for that, come to the style sheet here, and for the line, the class line, let's give it a margin at the bottom. Let us say 20 pixels. Save it again, and if you refresh now, you find the copyright item has moved about 20 pixels. So this is how the footer will look in 1280 pixels. Now coming to the smaller viewports, like if you come to 360, this is how it will look in 360. Now that copyright code, we need to copy this and then come and paste it to 360 pixels and also to 768 pixels. Save it and refresh. Browser, if you refresh, you will find the copyright text has gone into black. And then if you come to 768, you will find this is how the photo will look with the text. So here if you want to move the text a little down, and then we will have to target that class line. We say margin to the bottom, you can say 10 pixels. Save it, and if you refresh again, there you are. This is how the footer will look in 768, and this is how the footer will now look in 1280. Now in the coding HTML, I said that I will come back to why I have used the row so far as the footer is concerned. Now if I remove this class row from this design and then save it, see what will be the effect. Now you can see the copyright text has moved to the right. Like even if I put the class footer for the purpose of background color of the footer, if I save this now and see, now the copyright text has moved to the right of the 4 columns, making it total 5 columns. This is what Flexbox does. It moves all the columns one next to the other. So we don't want that. So we want the 4 columns and the footer text to be lower. Although we have kept the footer text here, it will move this as another class and take it into 5 columns. So the other alternative would be you move this copyright div class after the container. But if you do that, if you move after that div class container, and then if you come and now check it out, now the copyright text will go completely outside the container. So we don't want that. So to align all these contents, so what we are doing is we are keeping the class row or the footer. Let's save this and then refresh it now. You can see this is how the footer will be completely. So before I conclude, I would like to briefly touch upon those viewports which are greater than 1280 pixels, because we have covered this up to 1280 pixels. Now we have viewports with the width of 1440 by 900 pixels on a laptop, and then the larger desktops of 1680 by 1050 pixels, 1920 by 900 pixels, and 2560 by 1440 pixels. So different sizes of viewports are now available. So defining this page to various widths will be a difficult task. So there are two options for us. We define a media query for viewports above 1280 pixels. For that, let's say at media is a min width 1281 pixels. This will cover all the viewports above 1281 pixels. So let's come and copy the entire code from 1280. If you paste it here, then if you save this, and now if you come to the browser, refresh it, and then you come to the larger viewport, let's say 1920. We have viewport 1920 here, and if you come and view it in the 1920, you will find that the page is in alignment except for the gallery. The gallery, it is stretching from end to end. So we need to do some changes for the gallery. To do that is to redefine the gallery heading and the gallery. Let's first examine that option. The gallery heading from 87%, let's bring it down to somewhere around say 57%, and then the margin left, instead of pixels, let's change it to percentage because the width is very large here. So we say 21%, and the margin right 40 pixels will remain the same, and margin bottom also will keep 20 pixels the same. Coming down to the gallery, now the gallery width from 90.5, and we'll have to bring it down somewhere to 59.5 to match with that of the gallery heading. And the margin left also we'll give it in percentage, let's say about 20%, and the other aspect will remain the same. Let's now come and save this, and if you refresh the browser, you can see that the gallery heading and the image are coming in line, but the images on the left side are slightly outside the bracket. For that, let's slightly improve the margin left for gallery from 20% to say 20.2%. Save it again, and then if you refresh, now you can see that the entire gallery is aligned perfectly in place. This is in 1920 pixels. This is one way of aligning the gallery heading and the images. But then what will happen is 1920 is not the only viewport width that we have. There are other viewport widths like 1440 pixels, 1680 pixels, and large desktop like 2560 pixels. So the percentages may not work correctly in the different widths of screens. So to keep the entire web page in alignment with all the viewports about 1281, the other option is if you come to the index page here and go right to the top immediately after the body, and here you define a div something like say outer. This will be like a outer wrapper, and come and close that div at the end here. Let's say outer. Now if you save this and then come to the style sheet and define that class outer in 1281 pixels, and here we will define first a max width of say 1240 pixels. Let's keep it standard, and then to balance the page to the center, let's say margin 0 on top and bottom and auto on the left and right. When you define that outer, let's remove these the percentage that we have defined here above. You remove this and then keep the outer column, save it again, and now if you refresh, you will find the images aligning in the page, but only the heading part, the gallery. So let's move it a little to the right. So the gallery heading, let's define that class and say padding to the left, say 30 pixels. Save it, and if you refresh now, you can see that the heading has come in alignment with the images, and also give a padding slightly to the bottom, so that there will be some gap at the bottom. Padding to the bottom, let us say 20 pixels. Save it again, And now if you refresh, you will find that the sufficient gap has come about. And this is how the page will balance in all the type of browsers. Different type of browsers, they will be centered. The page will be correctly centered in different viewports about 1281. This is the second method. So this almost completes creation of the Flex Bootstrap web page. So I hope it was useful to you and you like it. So thank you.